Well, welcome back. This is Stocks to Watch, and we're taking a deep look into the recent updates on Angkor Resources, unlocking golden futures in energy and minerals, trading on the TSXV under ANK and the OTCQB under ANKOF. This interview is disseminated on behalf of Angkor Resources, and joining to discuss, we have the privilege of Dennis Ouellette, the VP of Exploration. First and foremost, welcome, sir.
Yes. Good morning.
Yeah, such a pleasure to get you on. And I just want to dive right into this. I mean, you've initiated and completed a trenching program at the CZ Gold Prospect. For our audience who are not familiar with the Gold Zone and the Andong Meas exploration license in the Ratanakiri province of Cambodia, I mean, tell us about this asset, its potential, and why you're focusing on this project in particular.
Well, every season in the Canadian summer, which is the rainy season here, I like to review all of the previous data that we have on the concessions that we have. And this one kept popping up. We didn't really have a name for it, but it consisted of an underground adit, which was about 50 meters in length on the side of a hill. So it actually went up the hill about 8 or 9 meters deep into the saprolite, which was put in by artisanal miners sometime in 2011, 2012. When the company acquired the property in 2011, essentially, they noticed that these people were mining gold, processing gold from this adit. So our geologists went in and mapped the adit. And at the top end of the adit, they did a raise breakthrough. They broke through the surface. They went up to 9 meters and broke close to the top of this 30 or 40 meter high hill. And they sampled the walls of this adit for the 50-meter lengths. And they also took samples of all the quartz veins. And it was described as being quartz stockwork, 30 meters wide, true width unknown quartz stockwork in granodiorite. And they followed this up with some diamond drill holes. One of the diamond drill holes was slightly below and slightly south of the adit and was drilled parallel to the adit, the same direction as the adit was going in, which is northeast, but it was pointed 45 degrees down into the ground. And then they followed that up with another one to the north, which was drilled on the same azimuth, which was on the top of the hill. And neither one of them encountered a 30-meter wide quartz stockwork. But what it did encounter was quite interesting. It was essentially a granite with no mafics whatsoever and about 50 meters of granodiorite and diorite, which was just shot through with massive quartz veins, none of which had any gold in them. So it seemed pretty intriguing to me. They abandoned it because they had a lot of other things to do. Last winter, during the rainy season, I was looking at this target and thinking, well, no one ever did any follow-up on this. So that's why I decided to approach this target this year, because it's a simple target to get to. There's roads right to it. And there's still artisanal miners mining gold from the creek that drains the hill. So let's have a look at it and see what it might be.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking to the Q1 trenching program at that CZ prospect is designed to define the orientation of the 30-meter quartz stockwork. I mean, what specific geological metrics, grade threshold, or the structural conformations did you rely on to guide you further?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Well, unfortunately, as I said about the drill holes and the adit, that's all I had to go on. There's no surface outcrop there at all. In fact, there's about 2 meters of just weathered rock that's like talus that's fallen down the hill. So I didn't really have a lot to go on. All I knew was that neither hole 1 nor hole 2 had intersected the 30-meter quartz stockwork. So it had to exist in a plane that was different than what those two would have defined. So in other words, it had to slip in between those two drill holes. And indeed, that's exactly what we discovered.
Yeah, the data is what's exciting for everybody, right? So, I mean, the samples are being prepared for analysis. What is the timeline for receiving the results, and how will you proceed following those results?
We took 3 different kinds of samples. We took samples of the wall rock, which is quite weathered, so it was easy to knock it out. Where we encountered quartz veins, we sampled them separately, and we will send them off to ALS Chemex for a gold assay. The wall rock samples, we do 2 things with. We split them in half. In one half, we do our panning. We have a Mr. T who does pan concentrates to see if there's any gold within those. And then the rest of it, we clean it and break it down into small samples and use our portable XRF to do our own analysis on it. Now, the quartz samples, they're just preparing them today. And when we're finished, I'm going to go down and have a look at them and decide which ones to send off.
Yeah, no, incredible to hear. You've worked on the wild boar prospect before. How does your previous work on the wild boar zone provide guidance for your work on the CZ prospect? And what anomalies or differences have you seen so far?
Well, the biggest difference, I think, is the fact that the wild boar gold prospect is a typical epithermal system located 3 kilometers from the center of the copper porphyry system. This is pretty typical. That's where you would find an epithermal system, a low sulfidation epithermal system. So that all fits into the what you would expect to find on a project such as this. Whereas the CZ gold zone is sitting in the center of the Canada wall copper porphyry system, but it's sitting between a diorite on the west and a granodiorite on the east. So there's some structural activity that occurs between those two rock types in which the CZ gold target sits.
Yeah, I appreciate the insight on that. Now, switching to the Thmei North, which sits on the exact same geological belt that hosts massive world-class gold mines to the north. I mean, geologically speaking, what specific markers are you seeing on the ground in Cambodia that tell you Thmei North could be the next giant copper deposit?
That's a good question. The Thmei North occurrence is sitting on something called the Loei Fold Belt, which runs in an arc about 1,000 kilometers up through Thailand and into Laos. And along that belt, there are at least 13 mines and occurrences that are being actively explored at this time, which are in the same kind of rocks, displaying the same characteristics as what we're seeing at Thmei North. So that makes it pretty darn exciting. Some of those are porphyry-related copper skarn type deposits, where you get the bulk of the copper mineralization is within the wall rocks, which is exactly what we're seeing at Thmei North. And others are displaying as intermediate to low sulfidation epithermal gold deposits. And in hole 6, which is on Thmei South, which is about 2 kilometers south of Thmei North, the bottom half of the hole is displaying all of the characteristics of what you would expect to see in a low sulfidation epithermal occurrence. So we only have a few holes in this, but I'm really excited about the potential of the Thmei North and Thmei South prospects.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the insight on that. And obviously, like, there's a lot of attention on these metals, copper especially, for the electrified future. So maybe even looking at the next few months, what is the exact scope of your upcoming drill program on Thmei North, and how many meters are you talking about, and how aggressive is the timeline?
What we have to do, we have what they call a PRACA, which is an agreement with the Cambodian government as to what exploration we'll do over the number of years that we hold the license. And we are required to do at least 2,000 meters of drilling on the Andong bore license, which has the Thmei North and Thmei South occurrences. And we were well into doing that early in 2025 when the conflict between Cambodia and Thailand began, and we had to leave it. We're hoping that this peace agreement will hold and we can get back in there within the next couple of months and start drilling again. And so we will initially complete that 2,000 meters because we only got 450 meters of it done. So hopefully, and learning from what we learned from the 1.5 holes that we did drill, we'll be able to even better target the copper mineralization on Thmei North. As well, there are gold occurrence on the southeast corner of the Thmei copper anomaly, and I'm bound and determined to put a drill hole into that now.
Yeah, I can imagine. Maybe speak a bit deeper to it with the upcoming campaign. I mean, what is the primary objective? Are you just trying to, to step out and prove the surface footprint is bigger, or are you hunting for a high-grade feeder core deep underground?
Well, the deposit is occurring as a series of small diorite plugs and then a whole bunch of diorite porphyry dikes cutting through a wall rock, which is volcaniclastic material, sedimentary material, which is conducive to absorbing all of the fluids from those intrusions. So it's structurally complex. And this first drilling program is going to be concentrating on trying to determine if we can predict the structural content of this occurrence so that we can better target the copper. We learned a lot from the hole we just drilled. We now know that the wall rock slabs within the diorite dikes are dipping steeply north and they're almost vertical. So that's going to help us a lot with determining in what direction we're going to drill. Determining where exactly we drill is just going to have to be on a grid. And then we're going to have to find, or rather learn, how to use a program like Leapfrog so that we can do 3D plotting of the results of the drilling and better understand how and where the best of the copper mineralization is occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe let's step forward a little bit here. I mean, when we have you back on this show, maybe in 6 months after this drill program wraps up, what specific results or milestones will you need to see to confidently tell the market that you're advancing steadily towards the next phase of, toward production? And what catalyst overall should the market pay attention to?
Well, I think, as I just said, understanding the structural control of the mineralization is going to be our number one priority. Once we have that sorted out, I think that we can move forward rather quickly, so long as we have the funds to continue the drilling program. Looking at the deposits that occur along that belt, some of them are very, very large, like in excess of 400 million tons. So there has to be something pretty unique and large sitting amongst those copper anomalies that we see on surface. And the problem with the copper anomalies on surface is that it's a farmed area. So the plows have been going back and forth over that ground for a very long time, dragging those copper anomalies around. But we do know that it's at least a square kilometer in size.
So I guess just to finish up here, with investors just stumbling in, what makes Angkor Resources a compelling investment opportunity today?
Well, the fact that we have this wonderful target at Andong Bor, which is on the south end of the Loei Fold Belt, which stretches 1,000 kilometers and has more than a dozen copper, gold, and gold occurrences on it, is definitely indicative of the fact that we're in elephant country. The second thing is that for the Andong Meas project, which is to the east of that, along what some geologists are saying is a suture zone that goes along the north end of Cambodia, connecting the Loei Fold Belt with its equivalent in Vietnam. On Andong Meas, we are going to start an IP program south of the Canada Wall copper porphyry and cover the Gossan Hills zone that we identified a couple of years ago with our drilling. My working theory is that the Canada Wall copper porphyry is actually tilted and is dipping. The core will be somewhere to the south of the surface expression to it. We recently had some ITC students do work on the limited drilling that we did on the Gossan Hills skarn occurrences, and they have determined that chemically those occurrences were created by those rocks being in contact with a copper porphyry occurrence. So that IP program is going to give us some drill targets, which could once and for all prove whether there is a copper gold porphyry occurrence on the Andong Meas property, as well as still targeting the epithermal gold at Andong Bor, which still needs some drill holes in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dennis, I appreciate your time as we pass it off to the viewers always. We'd love to know what you think in that comment section. Consider subscribing. As mentioned, when news catalysts come down the wire, of course, we're going to bring it to you here. If you'd like to explore Angkor further, we're going to leave the links in the description as well. But on that, we look forward to catching you in the next one.